Good morning and welcome to our daily devotional from Pilgrim Congregational Church. I'm Patrick Horn. Very glad to have you with us on this Thursday morning, January the 25th, 2024, as we continue our look at Deuteronomy chapter 18, verses 15 through 20. Now, the context and background for this passage is, again, Deuteronomy is a kind of summary of the law given by Moses just before entering the Promised Land. And so he recaps some of the historical narrative as well as many of the laws and rituals concerning how the people are to live and relate to one another. This passage addresses the issue of prophecy, and we've been talking about prophecy and the role that prophecy plays in both Judaism and Christianity. And today I want us to focus on the role of the listener, that is, the one who hears the prophetic message. And that is addressed in Deuteronomy 18, verse 19. I'm sorry. Let's see. Did I get that right? Verse 19. Anyone who does not heed the words that the prophet shall speak in my name, I myself will hold accountable. Now, this, it seems to me, is something that the free church tradition, which we participate in as Congregationalists, a larger tradition of the free church, which includes a pretty broad spectrum of mostly Protestants, put a heavy emphasis on this idea of being accountable directly to God. And in this case, it has to do with listening and heeding, that is, doing what the prophet says to do, which are actually the words of God. And I know that, of course, there are times when it may be challenging or difficult to determine whether God has spoken in a particular situation or particular circumstances. But as I've said earlier this week, it does not seem to me that we are at a complete loss about how to determine whether a message is from God. And of course, we have the advantage of the teachings of Christ and teachings in the letters of Paul and other of the books of the New Testament, but also the books of the Old Testament, particularly those passages in the prophets which emphasize the same things that Jesus did in his teachings. And that is that a message from God through a prophet can be accepted and listened to as a message from God if it is consistent with those messages. And consistency has to do with love, compassion, especially for those who are on the margins, who are struggling, who are having difficulties. Emphasis in the teachings of Christ on being childlike and having a love and respect for a child's approach to the world and particularly to faith. So that messages from prophets that are consistent with these themes, that is, the themes that we find throughout the Bible, it seems to me, are ones that are messages from God. And so while, yes, there may be times when it's extremely difficult to figure out who's on the right side of certain issues, it seems to me, as I've said before, that we're not at a complete loss. That is, we can look to these central ideas of love, compassion, sacrifice, loving one's neighbor, giving of oneself to others, and to God. Let's close with this word of prayer from W.E. Orchard. O God, who art to be found by those who truly seek thee, known by those who love, seen by those whose heart is pure, thy Spirit possesses all things, speaks in the holy dawn, calls in the quiet evening, broods on the deep, and dwells in the heart of every person. Forgive us if we, made to commune with thee, whose lives were ordered to walk with thee, have grown unaware of thy presence, or have rested in the things that appear, or have grown careless of the eternal and the holy. Send now some word of thine to make a highway to our hearts, and thyself draw near. Shut us in, gathered here, in with thyself alone, until every heart burns and each spirit moves toward thee. May the Spirit of Christ come upon us and make us at home with thee. Amen. From Pilgrim Congregational Church, I'm Patrick Horn, and I hope that you have a very good day. Goodbye.